the garment industry. They were in the clothing industry. They thought that this would be an opportunity for them to learn new things in a new country, and at the same time earn a better wage. So let's take a look at the building.
Okay.
Yeah, the street, not too far out. Now, when you take a look at this building, okay, what does it look like? I mean, there's nothing on it to signify it's a synagogue.
Right.
But when you look at the building, what would you think at first glance without anything on it?
Maybe like a courthouse or something.
Right. It could be a legal building. It could be a bank.
Yeah.
It could be. It's got Gothic style with the columns and the way it looks. So we don't really know if it was set up this way to prevent people from trying to damage it because it was a synagogue. But once it was set up, people would realize that it was a synagogue. So the fact it doesn't have any markings, that sign was not there. And when we go inside, we'll see that. But basically, the building could be a government building, could be a bank, it could be a school.
Or maybe even a church.
Very good. It could be a church or some religious house of worship. So in the United States, mainly in Maryland, Jewish people coming over did not have certain rights. They could vote, but they couldn't hold a public office.
Okay.
And in the early 1800s, the state of Maryland, there was a senator in the state house, who established what was known as it was not the real name, but it was called the Jew Bill, because it allowed Jews who did not swear an allegiance to Christ to hold a public office. And at the same time, it gave Jews the opportunity to incorporate a business or something like that.
Okay.
So after a few years, they incorporated. There were a number of Jews living all through this area. And they incorporated, and they formed this synagogue. And then they raised money to build this synagogue. So it was built in 1846, and it cost about $20,000 to build.
Wow.
So right now we're going to take a walk down in the lower level of the synagogue. Take a look at it. There's a timeline there that you can look at, and then we're going to walk through the downstairs, and I'll explain to you parts of the synagogue. Then we're going to go upstairs.
And the synagogue is the building itself.
The synagogue is a house of worship.
A house of worship.
It does not have to be a building like this. You can hold a synagogue in your living room if you have sufficient artifacts or the required things to make it into a synagogue. You need certain reading scriptures that you would read called Torahs, and we're going to see when we go in. But it does not have to be this building, because actually what happened was, before this building was built, there were many Jews living through here, and what they did was they would use, since there were businesses, there were stores, there were houses, they used the back room in a store to hold services on the Sabbath. They didn't always have this building. Right. But they were here for 20, 30, 40 years before this building was built.
Yeah.
Now there's different types of Jewish religion. There's the Orthodox, the Conservative, and the Reformed.
You said
Three different.
Three.
Conservative, Orthodox is first.
Orthodox,
that's the strictest.
Okay.
They would not ride on the Sabbath. They eat kosher food. And there's a lot of other things. But those are basic. And they would go to services 3 times a day, morning and afternoon, evening. But you combine the afternoon and evening so you could have the afternoon service and then the evening service 10 minutes after a certain time, after the sun goes down. Okay. So you have your afternoon service right before the sun went down, and the evening once the sun was down.
Then you said conservative, right?
Another one's conservative. They're not as strict. You could ride to your synagogue, and they hold services, but not as many, not definitely 3 times a day. They have them 3 times a day, and also in the Jewish religion, in order to have a service, you need 10 people. Okay. And the last group is called the Reformed. Reformed. Yeah, men and women sit together during the service, and they have services mostly on Friday night and Saturday. On the front. Now be careful here.
Okay.
This is very old. It's not easy to walk. What school do you go to?
BCCC Community College.
Where?
Baltimore City Community
Oh,
College.
okay. Where'd you go to high school?
Edmondson.
Did you?
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Okay. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Okay, this is where morning and evening services during the week would be held when this was an active synagogue.
Okay.
They would have had the benches here for prayer. They would have had where they would keep the Torahs for the services, and they would have the ark would have been in here, but it's not used anymore as a synagogue.
Okay.
This is more a museum. You could not hold, they don't want you to hold a service. You could have like a wedding here, but there's a lot of restrictions that require, I mean, there's not a lot of parking here. If you,
Yeah.
and that would be upstairs, which we're going to go to.
Okay.
So once again, here's the synagogue. Just like we saw it outside, it was restored. 1845, 1889, 40-some years this served as a synagogue. It was an Orthodox synagogue, then it was a conservative and a Reformed synagogue. The reason being, it was Orthodox, but a lot of the people that lived here, where they wanted a synagogue, they could not afford to on Saturday to come to services. They had to work.
Okay.
And the rabbi, who was the spiritual leader, was requiring everybody to come to services on Saturday. Okay, so if you couldn't make the service, he didn't want you to come, or he would not let you participate if you came.
Okay.
So it became problems. And after a while, the Orthodox men and women decided they were going to go to either continue services in somebody's house. They didn't come here. So after a while, it became a conservative synagogue, which allowed people to, if they worked, they could still come to services. So what we're going to do is there's a timeline here. Take a few minutes and you can look at it. This synagogue was built in 1845. And they started some work construction here in 1840. It was known as the Baltimore Hebrew Congregation. And then in 1855, the congregation was started to become more conservative. And the gentleman who built this synagogue, let's walk over here a second. So the gentleman that built it was not Jewish.
He was not Jewish.
He was not Jewish. Robert Carey Long built the synagogue. He was a very prominent architect in the Baltimore area, and he built several churches in Baltimore that still exist today. And his reputation was such that the people here wanted him to design and help build this synagogue.
Okay.
So in this synagogue, that's why some of the reasoning is the way it looks. You see, these are churches, and a lot of, you'll see churches with the pillars, the Gothic look.
Yeah.
But he was known for that. Eventually, people started to move out of the Jonestown area and move further up into the city.
Okay.
And as they moved, they did not want to come back here to go to services every day or on Saturday. So more synagogues were built further out in the city. And eventually the synagogue, the membership started to dwindle. And, got much lower. People here didn't have the money to keep it up. So we'll see here, it's very interesting. This is just a model of the synagogue. When the kids come here, they have school groups that come. And they take it apart and put it back together. But interestingly, here's a bell tower. And we're going to see that 1889, roughly 40 plus years after this synagogue was built, the synagogue was sold and became a Catholic church.
Okay.
So you don't see that happen too often. St. John the Baptist Lithuanian Catholic Church. Same format, nothing on the outside other than this bell tower was put on. And it was not known, there are no pictures of the bell tower, this is just a rendering.
Okay.
But when they did renovations to this building in 1958, 60, they found where there was an area that looked like something was standing there on the roof, but it was taken down, it was a church bell.
Okay.
And that was used to call people. Now, the Lithuanian, remember I mentioned to you that the port is not too far away.
Right.
So people were coming in from Europe, and the Lithuanians were coming in. They wanted a church.
Okay.
You had Germans here, you had Italians here, you had Polish people here,